Welcome back, class. Today we're going to go ahead, we're going to take what we learned in our first video on facial features and now apply them to the actual face itself. So, one thing we're going to need for this is we're going to need a nice eraser again, a pencil. If you got a blending stump, great. If not, don't worry about it. So, to get started with this, first thing we want to do is we want to get the shape of the head down. And to do that, I like to think it looks a lot like an upside down egg. So, I've had in the past where I had kids draw in a circular shape. All right, just a circular shape. Notice that when I do this, my lines are a little broken. It's not all one continuous line because, man, that's hard to do. I cannot do that. But I just go ahead and kind of continue drawing, almost like sketching these lines in here to make up a circle. Okay? They don't have to connect. You can always connect them later. And as long as you draw lightly, you're good to go. So I have this circle in here. Then I go ahead and just a little ways down here. This is where it's going to kind of vary from person to person. But I'm going to go ahead and add in my chin shape down here. Now, as I mentioned, every place I've looked to learn how to draw a human head, they always say it looks like an egg. All right, and if you look carefully, yeah, you do. You definitely have kind of that egg shape. Now, once again, this is a good reason why it's good to draw light, is it allows you to go back in here, make your erase marks where needed, and you should be good to go. I'm just going to go ahead and clean that off. And there you go. This is going to be the shape of my head that we're going to work with. Okay. Now, with the shape of the head, we want to start getting our features in here. Okay. I like to call them our proportion lines, our guidelines. And to put those in, I want to take the top of the head and the bottom of the chin. Find those two spots here. If you want, you can put like a couple little guidelines here, just like I did. And halfway in between here, if you want to be precise, you can measure. Otherwise, I just kind of eyeball it. I'm just going to go ahead and put a line going straight across, very lightly, halfway in between here. That's going to be your eye line. And then on either side of the head, I want to find that halfway mark, and that's going to be where the middle of my eyes go. Now that's important because over the years of teaching kids how to draw the human face, placement of the eyes is crucial and very difficult to do. So as long as you get these lines, these guide marks in here, it should help you out entirely. So we've got our guideline in here. Okay, we're going to go ahead. We're going to start by putting our eye shapes on here. Now, to do that, we need to get our eye guidelines. Now, I typically have a great way of kind of eyeballing this, no pun intended, ha ha ha, and say that there's roughly about an eye's length in between your eyes. So if I say this is an eye's length here, I take this shape, slide it out here. Okay, take this shape, slide it out here again. That should give me my eye lengths. And if I did it correctly, I should have roughly about an eye's length here and about half an eye's length here. It's a little bit farther, but that's all right. I think that'll be great for what we need it for. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this middle mark here because sometimes that kind of messes kids up. So get rid of that one middle guideline there. You're not going to need that anymore. But if you look at it, one of your eyes is going to go here, and the other one will go right here. Now, when you put your eyes in here, we went ahead, we drew the left eye. So the tear duct was pointing inwards towards the nose. Remember, we went ahead, we started with an arc line to begin with. We also have kind of a tear duct shape, and then that lower lid dips down maybe a little bit, but then curves back up again. There's our eye. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, but now we're going to do it on this other side. It's a little bit trickier to do that because I'm so used to drawing that left eye on that right-hand side. I'm going to arc the line, tear duct, dip it down a little bit. They look pretty darn good. There you go. So I've got these two eyes. Then the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and add my tear ducts. Not my tear ducts. I'll add those two. But my iris and my pupil. All right, there's my iris. There's my pupil. If you want, you can go ahead and kind of add a little bit of shading right now. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of add a little color to this as well, or a little bit of value, I should say. All right, it doesn't have color, Mr. Krause. It's just value. All right, so we have that. And also, too, go ahead and add your eyelashes. Just a little bit. Because it's a little bit smaller, you guys, you're not going to necessarily see as much detail with those eyelashes. A lot of times kids, big mistake they make is they make these eyelashes so dark and so big. They almost look like big giant spiders on your face. All right, so we've got these two eyes in here. Now the next thing we want to do is the nose. Now the nose is about halfway between your eye line and the bottom of the chin. And that would be almost, I guess, 1/4 of the way up from the chin. So the bottom of the nose will go about right here. And I like to drop two lines, dotted lines down from the tear ducts. That nose will fit in between those tear ducts. Sometimes it touches them, sometimes it doesn't. Like I said, everybody's faces are different. I typically don't have them touch, so I'm just going to go ahead and put those in here. I'm going to put the bridge of my nose in here too. The bridge might be a little bit long, but that's right. We're going to make this work. Like I said, everybody's faces are different. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and kind of fill in this nostril on this side. All right, you want to take a little section out here, fill up a little bit more right through here. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of add more definition to the bottom portion of the nose. We'll go ahead and do this, darken this up a little bit more right through here. And then you can go ahead and kind of erase those little lines you don't need. All right, looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and kind of lighten these up too a little bit. All right, so there we go. I'm just going to leave this here because this is really going to help us out for when we put our eyebrows in too. So leave this little trapezoid shape on the top. Now, once we have this nose in here, the mouth line, that's a little trickier. A lot of times kids like to put it way down here. If you did that, you'd have very little chin, you'd have a huge upper lip. If you were to split this last section up into 3 equal parts, that top third part is going to be where that mouth is going to go. And if I drop my tear duct lines in, just like this, and put in my 2 top circles and my hot dog shape underneath here, all right, I'm going to go ahead and have the proportional shapes for this mouth. And I'm just going to go ahead and drop a line right over the top of this. All right, another one down below here. All right, and that should be, right now, it looks like a pretty decent shaped mouth. And then I can go ahead and kind of add that line in between here, dip that little piece of lip down in between here, between those 2 circles. If I wanted to, I could go ahead and kind of clean it up with my eraser. Get those 2 small circles done. And then finally, I could start adding a little shading, okay? Maybe shade that top lip a little bit. Maybe add a little bit of value kind of down below here. All right, and there you go. You've got your mouth. Let me bring this out just a little bit more, like I said. You can always tweak these things a little bit later too. Now, looking at this too, you guys, one thing I'm noticing is sometimes you may have a little bit more space on one side than you do on the other side. If that happens, just go ahead. You can go ahead and kind of take a little bit more off the sides. As long as you draw these lightly, you can always modify the shape of your head. Always go back and kind of change features and everything else. All right, that's one nice thing about drawing with pencil. You always have that luxury. There we go. That looks a little bit more slender down. All right, now once we have this, next 3 things I want to do. I want to get a neck, ears, and eyebrows. Now to do the neck, typically the neck starts about where that mouth line is, okay? And it almost drops straight down where that mouth line touches the side of the head. All right? And then as you get to the chin, then it starts to angle outward like this. Okay? I sometimes like to put in kind of a few guidelines in through here. What that does, it kind of shows a little bit of those tendons and maybe kind of accentuates a little bit more as far as where those various things are on your neck. But that's what you're going to do. I'm actually going to angle this in a little bit more too. I think that'll look good. There you go. So I got that neck in there. Now, the ears. Ears are a little bit higher than your eye, almost where your eyebrow would be, okay? And therefore, they'll be a little bit higher than that nose line, okay? So if you bring them up almost equal distance from the eye line and the nose line, that should be a good place to put your ear. Now, for drawing your ears, okay, I found out a technique is if you practice it enough, it works out pretty good. But if you draw an upside down, skinny S shape, okay, and you connect this bottom S loop up through here, add another repetitious shape here. You get rid of kind of the middle part of your S. You add in a little section right here. You almost have kind of a nice little ear shape to begin with, okay? The lobe's a little bit big. We'll get rid of that. But yeah, there you go. That's a pretty decent ear shape. So if you want to try that, you can. A little skinny S right along the side here. Pull this up here, add a little bit of cartilage right here, add this right through here. Like I said, you do it enough, it's actually not a bad technique. All right, and if you don't feel comfortable doing that either, you can go ahead and kind of slightly sketch them in. Okay, I usually kind of put in a few little shapes to kind of show that it is an ear shape. I gotta bring this one down a little bit more. And that is, it's got a little piece of cartilage right here, and also too, you got like a little indent right here to the top of your ear. Okay, that usually is kind of nice to have. So we've got 2 ears. Once again, it's hard to get them to look exactly the same, but do your best. See what you can do with that. Last thing is this. We want to add in some eyebrows. And to do that, I usually put in some guidelines to begin with. Just some light lines, kind of show where they're going to go. Okay? And eyebrows, treat them like this. As opposed to being individual pieces of hair, they're almost like lines that kind of curve and they overlap each other. All right? It's almost like you're creating the illusion of fur, okay? But don't make them too furry, all right? But what I want to do is I'm just going to very lightly throw on these lines. They're going to arc away from the middle, okay? I'm just going to go ahead and kind of set one right here. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Once again, just kind of overlap them, have them curve a little bit, and arc away from the center of the face. All right, and there you go. You got your eyebrows. And then I can go ahead and kind of clean this up a little bit. All right, and there we go. We've got our facial features on our head. We don't have any hair just yet, but that is going to be our last video.